I used to think finding your life's purpose was like searching for a hidden treasure, something buried deep that you'd stumble upon one day if you just looked hard enough. But sitting in my therapist's office 3 years ago, tears streaming down my face as I confessed I felt completely lost at 28, I realized I had it backwards. Purpose isn't something you find, it's something that emerges from the messy, complicated, beautiful process of understanding who you are. The thing about purpose is that it feels so urgent when you don't have it. Like there's this constant ache in your chest, this voice that whispers you're wasting your life, that everyone else has figured it out while you're still wandering in circles. And psychologically speaking, this feeling isn't just in your head, it's rooted in something researchers call meaning-making, this fundamental human need to understand why we exist and what our role is in the larger story of life. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist, spent decades studying this after witnessing how some people found meaning even in the most horrific circumstances while others crumbled. He discovered that meaning isn't something that happens to you, it's something you create through your response to life's challenges, through your connections with others, and through transcending yourself in service of something larger. But here's what they don't tell you in the self-help books. Meaning isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a process you live. I remember Sarah, a woman I met at a career transition workshop, who spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder in finance, checking all the boxes society told her mattered, the salary, the title, the corner office, and yet she'd lie awake at night feeling hollow, like she was living someone else's life. She described it as wearing a costume that never quite fit, always aware of the performance but never feeling authentic. This is what psychologists call values conflict. When your external life doesn't align with your internal compass, and it creates this persistent sense of disconnection that no amount of external success can fill. The psychology behind purpose is fascinating because it involves multiple brain systems working together. When we engage in meaningful activities, our brain releases dopamine, but not the quick hit you get from social media likes or buying something new. It's a sustained release that comes from progress toward meaningful goals. Simultaneously, our prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for future planning and self-reflection, becomes more active when we're thinking about our values and long-term impact. But perhaps most importantly, when we feel connected to purpose, our stress response system actually changes. We become more resilient to setbacks because we have a why that's bigger than our immediate discomfort. But here's where it gets tricky, and this is something I learned the hard way through years of false starts and what felt like endless confusion. Purpose isn't always this grand, world-changing mission that looks good on Instagram. Sometimes purpose is quiet, intimate, deeply personal. It might be the way you make your children feel safe, or how you help your elderly neighbor with groceries, or the stories you write that only 3 people will ever read, but that express something true about the human experience. Dr. Kristin Neff's research on self-compassion reveals something crucial about the purpose-finding journey. We're often our own worst enemy in this process. We judge ourselves for not having it figured out. We compare our internal confusion to other people's curated external presentations, and we create this narrative that we're somehow broken or behind. But purpose development follows what psychologists call a spiral pattern, not a linear one. You circle back to similar themes and interests throughout your life, each time with deeper understanding and new perspective. I think about my friend Marcus, who always loved building things as a kid, spent his 20s in construction, felt burned out, went back to school for social work, and now designs therapeutic spaces for trauma recovery centers. His purpose wasn't construction or social work. It was creating environments where people feel safe and supported. But it took him 35 years and what felt like completely different career paths to understand this thread that had been weaving through his life all along. The research on what psychologists call purpose development shows that it often happens through what they term exploratory behavior, trying things, paying attention to what energizes you versus what drains you, noticing patterns in what you're drawn to, what problems you naturally want to solve, what conversations you get lost in. But the key insight is that you have to actually do things, not just think about them. Purpose emerges through engagement, through the felt experience of activities and relationships, not through pure intellectual analysis. There's this beautiful concept in positive psychology called flow states. Moments when you're so absorbed in an activity that time seems to disappear, where challenge and skill are perfectly matched, where self-consciousness fades and you feel completely present. These flow experiences are breadcrumbs. They point toward activities and environments where your natural talents and deep interests intersect, but you have to be paying attention to catch them, and you have to be willing to follow them even when they lead in unexpected directions. The emotional component of purpose discovery is something we don't talk about enough. It's often accompanied by grief, mourning the paths you didn't take, the versions of yourself you thought you should be, the simpler life you might have had if you just accepted what was expected of you. There's also fear, because pursuing purpose often means leaving behind security, disappointing people, facing uncertainty. And there's this strange loneliness that comes with following your own path, because it's inherently yours, and no one else can walk it for you. But embedded in that difficulty is something profound that researchers call eudaimonic well-being, a form of happiness that comes not from pleasure or comfort, but from living in alignment with your deepest values, from the sense that your life has meaning and direction even when it's challenging. Studies show that people who report high levels of purpose live longer, have stronger immune systems, experience less anxiety and depression, and maintain better relationships. Your sense of purpose literally changes your biology. The truth I've come to understand, both through research and through the messy reality of my own life, is that purpose isn't a prize you win or a destination you reach. It's more like a river, always moving, sometimes rushing, sometimes meandering, carved deeper by the obstacles it encounters, nourished by countless small tributaries of experience and insight and connection. You don't find the river, you step into it. You let it carry you while you learn to navigate its currents. If you're struggling to discover your purpose, start small. Start now. Start where you are. Pay attention to what breaks your heart about the world, because that brokenness might be pointing toward what you're here to help heal. Notice what you do naturally that others find difficult, because your gifts often feel effortless to you while being extraordinary to others. Follow your curiosity, even when it seems impractical, because curiosity is purpose trying to emerge. And be patient with yourself, because the most meaningful purposes often take time to develop. Like old trees that grow slowly but create the deepest roots and provide shelter for generations. Your purpose is already there, woven into who you are, waiting not to be found but to be lived.